more. This is more
This
promising.
looks better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, this looks better. This looks more. Yes. People.
All right.
Okay, Zach, what's happening?
Third time's the charm.
Oh, man. Sorry about that, guys. I had to restart the whole computer. But look, now we have. This is great.
We're back to chat.
Yeah, although it's only Zach showing up here now. Oh, Steven Jackson, what's happening, brother? Oh, God, let me turn this fucking chair on. I like to sit. I like to lean forward. You know? Yeah. Like that. There we go.
And they're not the most comfortable chair in the world.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable when you do it like this, especially when you're as white on as I am. I'm telling you. I've been working on the Miata, building a doghouse for it.
Uh-huh.
You got to see it. It's like a work of asymmetrical art. It's crazy. But, you know.
And your 170 fits in there pretty good now?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah,
I
cleared everything.
Do a little bit of extra clearance.
All cleared, yeah. You could take that motor and just spin it around in there now. Steven Jackson, David Woods.
David Woods says, was it the EGR?
It's always the EGR.
Yeah, we were thinking.
Mike N. Tony, the piston pin offset controversy won't be settled until we have them both on the dyno. Tell us when this will happen. It'll happen never. You know why? Because I don't care. It's like how can I explain this to you? It makes no difference to me. I just addressed it. The only reason I even addressed it was because Tom made that fantastic video, and I was like, you know what? If somebody's going to go through the trouble of making this video, then I'm going to address it. But other than that, I don't give a shit. The TV guys, they're going to say whatever they're going to say. You know, it doesn't bother me.
Well, there's no parts to hawk coming out of that. You can't hawk parts if you're using factory stuff.
Greg McDonald says, Uncle Tony swears so much you make me think it is me working on the cars. James Wilhite, what's happening? Squirrels ate the internet. Yeah, let's blame squirrels.
Well, yeah, we can go that route.
It was definitely squirrels. But you care. Well, then get a dyno. Get an engine, turn the pistons around, and figure it out. I got more important shit to do. I got cars to build. I got videos to make. I have like realms to conquer. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time for this shit.
Well, like I said, if there was only a show on the internet that maybe possibly tested theories like this.
Oh, geez, what would happen if you had a show? Maybe you'd even call it like engine.
I don't know.
Something
Builders.
You know? Engine builders, right?
Yeah,
right. You know. That would it would showcase the masters of the trade.
Right, and they would back-to-back test things that were theories that guys had never proven.
And you know what would happen? I myself wouldn't even bother watching it because I don't care. It's like I come from this ultimate mountaintop of just not giving a shit. Okay. Engine bastards.
Engine bastards, huh?
Chad Choate, UTG, would you be interested in doing a review on a crankshaft polisher I manufacture? Yes, I actually would. You live in Tennessee, you could run by and drop one off. I'll tell you what, bro, you must be a psychic, all right? Because yes. Send Uncle Kathy a message at UncleTony'sGarage.com at gmail.com. And put crank polisher in the subject line. She'll get back to you. And you want to try the crank polisher?
I think it'd be kind of cool. I mean, when I was a kid, we had a guy in our local neighborhood that used to be able to turn cranks on tractors when they were in the tractor.
Okay.
Well, we, demo derbies and burnout contests and all, we'd hire the guy and he would turn the crank while it was in the car.
Nice.
And it would be like, you go, hey, how far you want under? 10 under? Sound good? You go to Napa, you buy a 10 under bearing, and he would turn the crank in the car.
But he's polishing cranks.
Right. That's cool. I mean, all that kind of stuff is cool.
Let's see. John Woodworth. I don't understand where you get the idea that they called you out to start with. They never said your name once in any video at all. They simply read the question and they got, social media subject and gave the opinion what they said. The idea comes from, I'm a former automotive journalist, right? I was doing magazines back in the 80s and the 90s. When those two TV guys were like in school, right, to become an automotive journalist, I was an actual automotive journalist. They were reading the magazines that I was doing. So Dulcich specifically said, if you're an automotive journalist or former automotive journalist, so he was calling me out directly. John, that's how that works.
Google Sucks has the best thing on here. I leave the pistons in their original location, but I turn the motor around.
Excellent idea. And so Andy, Engine Masters tested the long rod versus short rod theory and proved it was wrong. And I say that that's bullshit because I have actual practical experience exploding nitro motors based on tune-up changes based on rod ratio. So look, I don't want to get into a piston contest with these guys, right? I saw the Engine Masters thing where they tested the long rod and the short rod. It's not a complete thing. Let's see.
Well, in that reality, it has to be in the working function, right? Like, so in the working scenario is what you would have to measure that by. And that's the drag strip, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's what the dyno doesn't tell the whole story.
Well, here's the thing, okay? And this is why I did that video on what the dyno actually covers and what it doesn't cover. All right, so they tested two engines, a long rod and a short rod motor, all right? But no other changes were done. So in other words, you've got the engine it's same cylinder head, same camshaft, same everything. So the motor is going to pump the same amount of air through and it's going to ignite the same amount of air. But the way the motor attacks it, the transition, that's what the dyno doesn't measure.
Right. Well, what I've always noticed is dyno pulls are generally done for 2,500 RPM on up, right? Well, street drivability, like, okay, that was the thing that I always hated was 302 Ford, right? You throw an E-cam at it and a set of GT40P heads and just a dual plane, but a good dual plane intake manifold. What a soggy turd on the bottom end. Oh, it would lose all bottom end. But man, small block Ford power at 2,500, that sucker was a magic beast because it would come alive, right? But I'm not driving from a stop sign at 2,500 generally, right? That's where you'd have to have a converter and gears and all that stuff to make that work. And all you're doing is changing the way that it attacks the problem.
John Woodward says they proved that the long rod made better bottom end and the short rod made better top end. And that actually works backwards. Let's see. Prime M testing that. Okay. Plan Z. Mitten made muscle. Tony, I was always told flipping the pistons on certain types of pistons was to aid in the friction, and any horsepower gain would be from that. But horsepower gains weren't the goal. Is this the goal? The goal is, look, it's just like stacking clearances, okay? The goal is to stack improvements, right? So this doesn't make a difference, and this doesn't make a difference, and this doesn't make a difference, and this doesn't make a difference. But when you put them all together, it makes a difference, right? And as far as like turning the pistons around, I can tell you, like, I've never tested this stuff. I never had it tested. There was never any reason for me to test it. I built an engine, I turn the frickin' pistons around. Now, I've built engines back. I've taken an engine out of a car, freshened it, done whatever. Let's say it has spun bearings. So I'll put a crank in it, put it back together again, put the pistons in backwards. You feel the difference, right? The thing hits harder. It revs snappier, right? It may not make an ounce more overall power because you're not changing the volumetric efficiency of the engine, but you're changing the way it lays the power in. And that's not tested on a dyno the way that these guys test on a dyno. I did a whole video about that.
Well, so I was thinking of, like, you could actually have some kind of smart ass kind of deal about this whole thing, but I think it's probably best just to leave it live. But this guy said, I can't remember, it was Texas Mopar. He said that you guys badmouth the Chinese in the poly-headed 318 movie or video, and now we got no video stream, right? So, Danny Boyd says, "Did you ever flip a set of pistons that were already flipped?"
I next time I'm going to leave the pistons alone and flip the whole car.
Yeah, I just think, like, in reality, if Smokey Unick said this,
yeah, right? Smokey Unick said
Smokey Unick was also the guy that did all kinds of shit, and nobody's questioned it, right? The flying banana, nobody questioned that. That looked like it was going to work, right? NASCAR got rid of it.
Smokey Unick was one of those people, and this is something. See, I got to actually, like, I got to stress this, okay? Because here's how people don't understand a mind like Smokey Unix, right? They don't understand a lot of people like this. Smokey Unix would go into an idea not caring whether it was success or a failure. He would go into an idea to find where the limits are, okay? So in other words, it's exactly like the engine I built for Bottle Rocket. It's a piece of shit, but I built it to find what the weak points are.
Right.
I don't care if that motor lives. I don't care if it dies. All I care about is that when it breaks or when it fails in any way, I will learn from that failure and I'll incorporate the improvement into the next engine.
Right.
So Smokey was an experimenter, and he would play with all different ideas, the hot vapor engine, and all.
Well, that's one thing I was actually just going to bring up, because it's like, it's funny that they're questioning flipping the pistons, even though it said it in the direct connection book, right? But no one's went out and built a fucking hot air engine and questioned if that even worked. No, but that was one of the things he was famous on for. Just like the bald tires. Remember them crazy bald tires he made?
He did all sorts of things. But the point is, he would have an idea and then say, I don't know where this idea is going to lead. So I'll take the first step and just make a prototype and see what happens.
Right.
People in general, mechanics, the general public, right? They're too focused on success or failure. They don't understand the steps. Sometimes you have to run into an idea expecting failure, and then you build from the failure. This is how you learn. Right. Nobody ever, you didn't learn how to walk by just getting up and getting up on your feet and moving. You learn how to walk because you fell over a lot and you got so tired of falling over that you decided that you were going to try that little extra bit and use this muscle and this balance and so on and so forth. And then bam, next thing you know, you're standing up and you're walking. You never would have learned how to walk if you didn't learn how to fall first. And so that's what it is when you build stuff like that. Does that make any sense?
You know, it totally makes sense. It's trial by fire, right? That's exactly what they call it. Trial by fire. So...
Texas Small Bro, man, last night I was testing to my 340 car and scattered it. It happens, sucks. Brother, man.
You found the limits. You found the limits of that one.
Andy, that video you put a link to explaining piston flipping said a game 2-horse maybe. That's what he said. Now, if you talk to if you look at the guy, and I can't think of his name, the guy who did the 400 horsepower 300 Ford 302. He says it's worth 25 horsepower. Perhaps it's worth a different amount on different engines, different amounts on different combinations. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that it's an improvement over the stock geometry. So does it make a half a horsepower? I don't fucking know. You know what? It cost me not a penny to take the piston and go, boop, and move it to the other side. Not a penny. It doesn't take any thought. It doesn't take any effort. It doesn't take any preparation. It takes nothing. So if it makes 0 horsepower, fine. At least there's the potential to make it. If it makes 700 fucking horsepower, great. It didn't cost me anything. Does it make anything in between? Anything in between is what I would expect. So I never assigned a number to it. I never assigned a value to it. All I said is, this is what I do. That's it. Hey, I think I'm triggered now.
Maybe so. We'll move on. Let's talk about EGRs, right? That's got to be a less hot topic.
I don't want to talk about EGRs again. Remember that?
I know. I was teasing.
That was crazy that night.
Let's see. Ben N is saying, could a cam that's a bit too mild cause pinging? One compression engine timing is 12 degrees initial and 34 all in, old 455, 40 over. Yes. If you have a too mild of a cam, there's not enough overlap to knock off a little bit of that static compression. Yeah.
Well, time is at 12 degrees. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay.
Initial.
Yeah, but what is the cam in at? Right? I mean, is it a mild cam and you put it in advanced on top of that, which would further increase cylinder pressure?
That would make it even worse.
So that would make it even worse. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? But take the cam, take the cover off and maybe try retarding at 2 degrees and see what happens. Let's see.
An old RX-7 would make a nice slant project. Probably not. I'll bet you that engine bay is way too small for a slant, because that rotary was designed, or that car was designed around that rotary.
It was.
So that rotary is awfully small. If you guys have ever seen that rotary, there you are, one small motor.
But that engine bay is just Somebody needs to put that 215 on one.
The 215 would be awesome itself.
I'm gonna do.
Oh, I think
when I'm done with this Miata, I am going to get another Miata. I love the cars.
Well, I was actually thinking like street rod, like a 23 T bucket with a T5 5-speed. Oh, it would be just badass.
I'm picturing a Miata, okay? Like done like an old Opel GT gasser.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know, the motor setback, a 671 on top of it, an early Hemi, you know, like a 331.
Radius wheel wells with
big radius wheel wells, right? Exactly, yeah.
Huh. Oh, it's Texas Mopar saying the Hendrick J is the baddest drag car of all time in my book. I was always partial to the Fiat, the Topolino.
Yeah. Dickie Farley. Oh, Dickie Farley got here?
Yeah, he said third time we were started, he didn't get a notification. We were live streaming.
Zero's here.
Yep.
Andy says it's proven that long rods will help prevent pre-detonation, so I could see your point there. 74 Charger. What is your opinion of Rock Auto Parts? I buy a lot of stuff through Rock Auto. What about you?
I actually did for a long time, especially when they were doing the clearance stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like when they like, hey, we're done with this run, so here's a whole bunch of crap for nothing, right? Man, it's always the shipping is murderous on them, though. I don't know what they're shipping.
I've never experienced like high shipping.
Really? Yeah. Oh man, it was like 2 or 3 times more than anywhere else.
Yeah, but then again, I've never ordered anything like really substantial or heavy. It's usually like a gasket set or
rings and bearings.
Yeah,
that's what I cleaned them out on. It was like $3 for a ring, and I'm like, well, for a pack of rings, right? And I'm like, $3? That's not bad. I could get all 8 for $24. So that's what I was doing, was buying all those. Oh, Ari's in Mexico, he said.
Fubar just posted a link to the merch. Thank you, Fubar. Ari, what's happening, brother? You need anything from Tijuana?
Oh, man. I think all the stuff that I would want from Tijuana is going to get you pretty much border. Doug Hart. He's on top of what I'm thinking.
Hookers and tequila, please.
Did I miss the Frankenstein Buick engine update? Oh, no, I haven't had any time to work on it. To be honest with you.
We're both up to our asses in just random projects, man.
And it's like stuff that you don't think is going to take any time, and it takes 2 weeks.
You'd never know it. But I go like 12 to 18 hours a day. It's just 7 days a week. It doesn't stop. You wouldn't think. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you. I figured I'd be getting a lot done. That's what I would kind of pride myself on was I could always outwork just about the regular guy. Any other guy, I will
outwork any. Yeah. We should have a work contest someday.
See which one of us drops first.
UT, what is your best business failure? See, you wouldn't know about that. It was well before I met you. My best business failure. I'd have to think on that. I've had a few interesting ones, but I'll tell you what. I've been in business. I've been in and out of business since I'm 16 years old. I got tossed out of school and went right to work. And I've always been self-employed. Even when I was doing magazines, I did it as a freelancer. But I've never lost money in a business. I have a sense when things aren't going to go, and so what I'll do is I'll just scrape it up. I've never borrowed a penny to go into business, and I've never lost a penny in business. But I've always been in business.
Oh well, I can't say the same. But so Sean Forehand is saying the Miata is blowing up on Facebook.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, that's where I saw it first.
I can only imagine what people are saying about that thing.
Well, it ended up on one of the Facebook pages, Shitbox Nation, maybe. Yeah. And then Ben N says the cam in his olds is a 214, 224, 110 lobe separation. You'd probably need oh man.
I mean, it's 214, 224 at 50.
Right. That's still fairly small. Though.
It is. So that's like 270. Right,
260, yeah.
284. That's like a street Hemi grind cam. Geez, you know what? Okay, I don't know who ground it. Okay, but I tell you what, this last year, not this year, the year before, I got a cam from, let's say, one of the best known cam manufacturers on the planet. Okay, and it was a slant six cam, and it was ground 11 degrees retarded. Right, the dowel was just in the wrong freaking place. Okay, so check that. That cam might have actually inadvertently been ground advanced enough, right? So check that, right? And also, here's what you do. The Oldsmobile is a 1843657 motor, just like a Chevy or Chrysler, right? Here's what you do. Check number one, top dead center, number one cylinder, split the overlap, right? And that should be your dot to dot. And then rotate the crankshaft 360 degrees, get the both dots facing up, and then make the same check at number 6. And you should have split overlap at number 6 also. Because I've also seen cams ground where number one is
like
phased
wonky.
Correctly. Right. Number one is phased correctly, but as you go down the shaft, the timing changes. So there could be a lot of things that you got to look at when you have a situation like that.
Man, I'd almost be cheap enough to say, hey, since you already got it in there and you know it's spark knocking, pull a timing cover, pull 4 degrees or pull 2 degrees out of it if you got a 2 degree capability, but just pull a few degrees and wherever it's at now, just pull a couple degrees out.
Scott Speed Shop, what's happening, brother, man? There's a great channel. It's got these guys are great. Definitely want to go over there and check that out. Need Metal says you'd have to be an idiot to flip pistons with valve reliefs. Speaking of which, did you ever notice, right? Small block Chevys, early small block Chevys, small block Fords, early small block Chryslers.
No valve reliefs?
Siamese valve reliefs. So you got an upper set of eyebrows and a lower set of eyebrows, meaning that you could flip the piston around.
Right.
With the valve reliefs. It's like the factory engineered these things to be put in any way you want to put them in.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I thought you were going to say something neat like there was no valve reliefs and nobody cared.
Let's see. UT, do you have a digital or analog laundry washer? Steve's also just fixed his analog washer with a bunch of red hose. I've been fixing my appliances my whole life. But the thing is, like, when it comes to that whole analog versus digital thing, only the things I care about, have to be analog. The things I don't care about, I don't give a shit about my microwave. I don't give a shit about the dishwasher. I don't give a shit about the clothes dryer. Those are appliances. I don't get attached to them. They come and they go. It doesn't work anymore, you throw it away. No problem. Same thing with the computers. I don't care about this goddamn computer. It takes a dump. I go get another one. But I love my cars. And my cars are with me for life. You see what I'm saying? I don't sell my cars. So that's the difference. That's the difference. Curtis Randolph's his 360 Pistons created their own valve reliefs.
Hey, well, they'll be good to go for the next go round. What is the largest vehicle you have buried and why?
I don't want to talk about that.
I don't understand what he means by buried.
Did you
bury a car?
It's a long story.
Okay.
Yeah. Matt S. Are Hastings piston rings any good? Say made in the U.S. I love Hastings rings. I've used them forever.
I tell you what, The old guys used to say the cast rings, if you wanted it to break in and you were kind of wondering if it would break in,
right,
use Hastings rings because it will break in no matter what.
That's the truth. When you build a fresh engine with cast Hastings rings, I will guarantee whatever coating you have on your headers is gone. Within the first 30 seconds, a minute, whatever coating you have on there is freaking gone. The friction is so intense. But man, that's what it takes to make them a seal. You know what I mean?
Well, my engine start stand, I had those cherry bombs I welded up and hung it off the exhaust manifolds of that Buick. Man, it burned at least 4 inches down on each one of those cherry bombs. Like, wow, sucker got hot, but broke her in.
UT, what all is involved in swapping the first gear ratio on an 833? I want to ditch the 309 first. Why would you want to ditch the 309 first gear? That's the best part of, right? That's the best part of it. It's the reason I have well, it's one of the reasons why I have the overdrive in Bottle Rocket. Why would you want to get rid of that? But if you did want to change it for whatever reason, you're gonna have to you gotta match the gear with the cluster gear. So you're gonna have to find a gear set completely out of a separate. You know what I mean? There's no your only options for the 833 overdrive. If you want to keep it in overdrive, you have no options because there's no alternative gear ratios that would be matched on the cluster. So you would have no choice but to go to a non-overdrive set of guts.
Andrew Button says, would breaking in an engine with NOS, which cools the charge, stop the headers from burning? I doubt it. Yeah.
No.
It'd be worth a try. Why don't you take a video and send it to us and show us?
It does. Nitrous cools the incoming charge. It doesn't cool the combustion process. Joe K, would you ever do a video on setting up a ring and pinion with the shims, gear paint, and all that? Next time I have to do one. If Kathy's around when I have to do one, then we'll film it.
Well, and that's why everybody, if you remember, the very first video we did for the Wednesday Night Tech Live was the cam break-in, right?
Yep.
And everybody was giving me so much shit for running that garden hose over the radiator, right? And they're like, get a fan, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm breaking in the motor, new rings.
Right.
Hint, hint, hint. It does get hot, but the water-to-water heat exchange on there is much better than a fan. I even went and got some electric fans and a different aluminum radiator, and I still cool it with water because it's the only way to keep them cool.
UT, what is your favorite beer? Spaten Optimator. Where you live?
Spaten?
Spaten.
Isn't German beer?
Yeah. But the Optimator has been brewed by the same monks for over 600 years.
Here's an interesting fact.
Yeah.
All right. Belgium, where brewing beer was religion, was like being next to God.
Yeah, but it's all like that pale shit.
Right? But here's the thing. Those guys felt if they ever served you a bad beer, they were going to hell. And that was like, if you go taste the Belgian beers, they're either great or they're freaking terrible.
I've never seen a dark Belgian beer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a dark Belgian beer out there.
Not dark to my standards.
You need like Guinness Dark?
No, Guinness is a light beer. To me, Guinness is literally, and I'm not stretching this one bit. To me, Guinness is like drinking Bud Light.
Well, my favorite one is there's an oatmeal stout that I used to get from, I think it's from Smith's. Oh man, that's got to be my favorite beer.
Uncle Tony's beer belly got huge. I don't have a beer belly. I literally have not had a beer. I tell you what, I probably have, the last beer I had was probably a good 2 years ago. And it was during the live, actually.
Oh, Logan's asking, Uncle Tony, I'm rebuilding my big block 727 transmission. What is the best rebuild kit and shift kit you would recommend?
The Transgo is good.
I always use Transgo shift kit and all this stuff.
Yeah. Actually, I got one sitting with my 68 Roadrunner. It's one of the reasons the car's just sitting there. I got to put
shift kit
yeah.
while it's in the car.
Yeah, because it's just when you hit it, it's so I got to tighten the ship. Just pulling the accumulator spring out isn't quite enough.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, man, I had a Transgo when I first got my white Ford running. It had an E4OD in it, right before it had the ZF5 speed, and I bought a Transgo shift kit for that sucker. And I was so lazy about putting it in that all the parts rusted inside the box. So, man, Where the heck are you getting Ham's beer at?
Fubar just put up a link to ahraonline.com.
Yeah, thanks,
where you can
Fubar.
become a member of the AHRA.
Also, I'm stupid because there's a link on there to take you directly to our eBay page to buy merch.
Good Lord, it's like a rocket sled to success.
It is. I tried. I updated the webpage, so everything is ironed out and simple and easy. But yeah, well, if you got some time, run over there, send me an email, tell me I suck, or buy a bunch of merch, or whatever you want to do.
Tony, I'm having problems with my 67 Newport. The front flashers turn on when I brake. Is it my turn signal flasher?
Bulbs.
No.
You got the wrong bulbs in it.
Well, yeah, could be a bulb, could be the wrong bulb, could be the bulb put in wrong, or it could be in the turn signal switch.
Man. Oh, and back to that guy's tranny. He was asking about with a tranny shift kit. TCI has always been pretty good when you buy the whole kit, But I mean, you can actually score a pretty decent kit with Red Alto clutches on Amazon for probably $200. Oh, somebody said they're doing a Magnum headed 273.
I'm doing a Magnum headed 273. Matt, it's going to be a little while. Everything has been shaken up, like the scheduling of things because of the move. Because now we're working off of a whole completely different program. So things that we're going to get done soon are going to be pushed off just a little bit, and other things that we're going to be pushed off are going to get done sooner.
Joe Alcott said, "You best do it. Join the AHRA." And he did. He actually did. He sent a pretty bitchin' picture on the AHRA page today on Facebook. He had our shirt laid out and then some model cars on there. I thought it was actually pretty cool.
Okay, let's see. UT, what's a Magnum?
Dallas.
A later model LA motor is called a Magnum. They use a completely different style of cylinder heads and valve train.
I'm trying to figure out what this is. Varkin Good says, Dallas, get the old story from UT and post it on your channel. Change the names. I don't get it. What's the old story?
Don't worry about it.
Huh.
No, Eric. It's allergies all day long. I've had sneezing fits. There's just something got unleashed here in Middle Tennessee today.
Yeah, it's springtime. That's what it is. It's tree jizz. It's all up your nose. Yeah, NHRA, no hot rods allowed. I've been, unfortunately, I'd like to say AHRA, all hot rods allowed, right? We're trying to make a class where just about fits everybody.
Mo Parmark, the 340 was a Magnum too. No, I say there's some confusion. In the late 60s, from 1968, 67, 68, I don't even know what the hell it was, until 1971. Well, all of the high performance engines, Dodge engines, were called Magnums. So you got the 340 Magnum, 383 Magnum, excuse me, 440 Magnum, okay? But they're no relation to the Magnum truck engines that came along in 1991.
Yeah, 91, 92.
91,
was the beer
92.
keg like the first one, right?
Yeah. No relation.
But it's good. So the easiest thing to do is say is like Magnum's kind of like a Vortec Chevrolet or a GT40P Ford, right? It's the same. It's a revised head for emissions and performance.
Unity Motorsports Garage, my buddy Andy. What's happening, brother man?
Oh, is Andy going to be at 318 Fest?
He said, it looks like it.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Thank you, guys.
I'll see him there then.
They get me Gesundheit now. UT, would you bring back some of the articles you wrote during your writing days and reflect on the thoughts then and now? No. I make videos now. Is Bottle Rocket all set for the weekend? It certainly is.
Oh, would you get the pinion snubber on it?
Tomorrow morning, I got to run out to no, seriously, I got to cut up a tire. I got to cover the top of the pinion snubber. I'm not going to use a pointy snubber anymore. I'm just going to cover the top of it with a piece of rubber. And I got to run up to Nashville and get my bottle filled. But other than that, yeah, she's good to go.
Speaking of that, we were talking about like doing the bottle deal. Tell us about some of your most successful Buick engine builds, performance-wise. I think my favorite one so far has just been the one I just got out of here, is the 462, and that was the one with the 430 big port heads. That
we have to do a whole ground-up Buick build video. The next time you've got one in here and you got to start from scratch, we got to do that video.
Okay, and we're going stock or what?
Well, I don't know. Whatever it is that you're going to build it for.
I was thinking about building a second super stock motor because, see, I got this 364 small block, but I thought about building a 364 big block.
Okay.
Which is using a nail head crankshaft and a big block Buick and a 400 Buick. And then I get a weight break from, for Sega. But I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of neat. But other than that, my most successful Buick builds, I haven't had quite a few of them. Most of them have been stockers. Most of them have been pretty much stock that I've done.
Here's one for you. Here's one for you, man. It's a Quadrajet question from Justin Christoph. My Quadrajet is not accepting fuel from a fuel pump. Fuel pump is good. Pulled off the filter, and it was full of bad gas. Next step.
All right. Hey, I just ran into this weekend. As you remember, I told you I had problems when I went out to North Carolina this past weekend?
Yeah.
All right. I stopped and filled up the gas station in North Carolina. 50 miles down the road, the truck is sputtering. And I'm thinking, oh, man, maybe it's my 50-year-old coil on my HEI or, the pickup coil in the HEI. And I swore it's got to be the coil. It's the only thing I haven't changed on this dang truck. So we pull into a town, Nashville, North Carolina, matter of fact.
I've been there.
Have you? Yeah. It's small.
Yeah.
Went to Napa, bought a coil. They had one on the shelf. The guy's like, oh, okay, which color wires do you have? I'm thinking, there's no way this guy could have two of them, right? Because this Napa is like literally the size of my garage. And no, he had all the parts for HEI on the shelf. But anyway, I dropped the coil in, 20 miles down the road, same thing. So then I beat the thing to the track. We're going 47 miles an hour. It barely would move. I pull in there, and then the promoter at the track, his name is Chris Cox. And he runs the Speed Oasis. And he says, hey, I'll bet you it's the ethanol gas making the cellulose in the filter swell. And I'm like, what? No way. So I took the paper filter out, and no shit, it looks brand new on the outside. And I bust it open, and there's like super duper fine particles of crap in there that it's like would have never plugged up the filter.
Okay.
Right?
Well, then there you go. There, you just answered the guy's question.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe he might have the same thing going on. Go down and get a filter that's a non-overseas filter. If you can find like a Wix or a Napa Gold, see if that cures your problem. If not, I would start looking at the float. The needle in the seat is probably not functioning like you're thinking it is. And the big thing I've seen is where guys put the needle hanging from the float backwards. They put the little clip on the wrong side of the float.
Well, he hasn't been inside there. Who's this guy? Yonsef 50. Tony, are you scared of nitrous? I spent 15 years with nitro cars. Why would I be afraid of nitrous?
But we were talking about that, right? Was doing a bottle filling station out at the shop.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody on here know how to make a bottle filling station without buying a $1,600 a deal? Because it seems to have gone up by, I don't know, 40,000% in the past 10 years. What the hell? Question mark. Hashtag NOS.
Gideon Wallace. I don't understand stall converters. When do I go for a high stall converter? I've got a 390 FE Galaxy 500 that I'm building for weekend use and the track. All right, Gideon, that's a good question. Honestly, it's going to be a matter of opinion. So I'm going to throw my opinion into it, and then we'll get Dallas's, and we'll see how close we are. I think that it's going to be tied directly to your camshaft choice. I think that, and like there's going to be a lot of science involved in this, but I think in essence, it's going to come down to your camshaft choice. Where is that cam going to make power? And you want a converter that's going to, you want a converter that's going to operate, but that's going to stall at the base of that camshaft's torque curve. So power. So in other words, stock cam, the power is going to come on at about 2,000 RPM, 1,500, 2,000 RPM in your engine. So you need a tight converter, 1,500, 2,000 RPM. You go for a giant cam with crazy numbers, right? That doesn't make any power until 4,500 RPM. Well, now you need a converter that's going to match the base, the bottom line of your camshaft's torque curve. What do you think?
I'm pretty much on board with that. As a young hot rodder, I would screw stuff up, put way too much converter, or way too much camshaft and no converter.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we've all done that.
And you learn the hard way, right? But the older I've gotten, I've noticed that I've become more conservative on the converter and more aggressive on the cam.
Right.
But not like to the point where I was when I was a young kid, where a 2500 stall converter is actually pretty good. If you can get away with pretty healthy camshaft with 2500 stall. Now, would it be happier with a 3700? Sure it would. But your wallet won't be, and the car certainly won't be going down the interstate because it'll be screaming pretty good because it'll be slipping pretty hard.
But a lot of it has to do with the gearing, the weight of the car.
It does.
There's so many factors that go into, picking the right stall, right stall speed for your converter. You really want to talk to a converter manufacturer and give them all of your information, and they'll that's really the best way that either of us can answer this question is take all of the information on your Galaxy there and give it to somebody who deals with converters and let them tell you what you need.
And off the shelf converters, those numbers are kind of a ballpark. That's it. Because
they are a ballpark.
Like, they use a mid-range weight car, so it'd be like 3,200 pounds, and it'd be like it might be behind a big small block or a small big block, and that's where you're getting your numbers at. That's kind of like the middle of the road, right? And that's where I've always noticed is when I always did stuff like I had 302 in a Thunderbird, right? Well, nobody built Thunderbirds back then. They were all the 5-liter Mustang. Everything was a 5-liter Mustang, and you wanted the notch back because it was so much lighter, right? But all the converters, they'd tout, oh yeah, 3,700 stall. I get that sucker to be $4,000 every time, and it's just because of the extra weight.
Yeah. Now you see, when I was young, converters were like race things. Okay, like you go back to the 70s and the early 80s, right? An aftermarket converter was like a big deal, right? So and they were expensive, especially when you work cheap. And that's when I started really learning about cam timing. Because you put an engine together and the thing was just like softer, it wouldn't, it just wouldn't hit. And then that's where I learned, started advancing the fucking camming at that bottom end working, you know what I mean? There are so many variables when you're talking about, a converter stall.
Well, I do have something that's pretty interesting. I don't know if I ever told, besides, this is a little bit of switch pitch, but the very first switch pitch I got was a ST300, Super Turbine 300 2-speed.
Okay.
Right? And it's like what they use behind the small blocks in the mid-sized cars, right? Well, I got one of those, and I'm like, hey, can I race this? I started calling around. Everybody was like, throw that sucker in the trash, right? Well, what I did find out is that converter fits in a switch pitch Turbo 400. Well, it came behind all the small motors, the V6 Buick, the 300 Buick, the 215, the Pontiac 326. And they'd have their 2-speed variable stall, right? So first low stall would be 1,500, high stall would be 25.
Okay.
Right? You put it behind a big block, though, with a switch pitch Turbo 400, and now you're looking at 2,500 and 3,000 stall, which that's pretty cool.
Need metal. Tony, what's the minimum valve piston clearance you're comfortable with? Loaded question, because is it an engine? Is it an engine with big, heavy valves? Little valves. Is it a high RPM engine? Is it a low RPM engine? There's so many different variables.
Rule of thumb is 100 on the intake and 130, I think, on Or what? Maybe I got that backwards.
Well, but for what engine? What
well,
application?
and that's just rule of thumb. Rule of thumb. Any engine, those numbers are going to make sure that you don't whack the valve, right? 100. I want to say it's 130 on the exhaust valve because the exhaust valve gets hot and grows more.
Yeah,
or
but
something
it's more,
like that.
it's more of a factor. It's more a factor of running into valve float because you're not going to have piston to valve clearance issues. In other words, assuming let's say you've got 100,000 set up there, right? You're set for 60, 70, 80, 100,000 piston to valve clearance. It doesn't become an issue until you float a valve,
right?
Because the relationships all stay constant,
right?
But now the weight of the valve, the mass of the valve,
the spring tension,
the spring tension, the intended RPM use of the motor, you know what I mean?
Right.
All come into play as to how much valve to piston clearance that you're talking about. So that's you have to be very specific what engine, what cam, what RPM range before you start talking about what do you feel comfortable with, what do you feel safe with.
Uncle Tony's Garage, get a scuba tank and use that instead of nitrous. Make friends with the local volunteer fire department that have filling stations.
Yeah.
That's one thing I always wanted to try. Did you know that those scuba tanks have like 3,000 PSI in them? Right? And would it be badass to take that and enclose a carburetor and just fucking hammer that bitch with all 3,000 PSI?
Well, Mickey Thompson played around with a compressed air car.
Did he?
Yeah. Actually, a few people did. Art Malone had a compressed air car, but Mickey Thompson came the closest and to making one work in 72, 73. I was actually a Boss 429.
Really?
Yeah. He had gone to the Chrysler Motors in his regular cars by that point, and I guess he had a bunch of leftover Boss 429 stuff. So he built a compressed air 429, and they played around on alcohol. And they got some good results, but for some reason they never pursued it.
I just think it's hard to fill the bottle, right?
Unity Motorsports. Tony, do you want me to bring some nitrous? I'm actually going to get my bottle filled tomorrow morning. I'm going to run up to Nashville and get it filled. Oh, let's see. Granny's Garage. What is a good rule of thumb for carburetor size? Also choosing between vacuum secondaries and mechanical. Double your cubic inches.
That's a good starting.
Yeah. If you got a 600 cubic or 300 cubic inch engine, 600 CFM, right? Okay. 350, 700, 750. Mechanical or vacuum, automatic trans, just automatically go with a vacuum. Manual trans, mechanical. If you feel that you're over carbureting, go with vacuum. Like for instance, on my Slant 6, I have a 750 vacuum secondary Holly. That motor will not use 750 CFM, but it's vacuum secondary. So it's actually 375 CFM 2-barrel with the possibility of whatever else the engine wants.
The maximum of 750.
With a maximum of 750 CFM. Yeah, if you go with a vacuum secondary carburetor, don't be afraid of over-carbureting. You can't.
It's only going to use as much as the engine until it actually equalizes at zero. It'll use that. Use whatever it is until it gets to zero. So do you know the trick for the nitrous bottle fill? Like I used to race with nitrous like in the early 2000s, and this guy taught me to freeze the bottles, freeze them in the freezer at home. And you take them to the filling station, freezing cold. You want frost on that sucker.
Okay.
And then what you're doing is transferring from a hot bottle to a cold bottle. But it doesn't matter in liquid transfers. One bottle has to be hotter than the other. So if you make one really cold, it's still hotter than the ambient air temperature one.
Okay.
So it transfers, and you'll get. Sometimes I would get 11 pounds in my 10-pound bottle.
Really?
Yeah. Which is, of course, too much. I'd have to let some out because then the solenoids wouldn't open. Oh, here we go. Here's a returning question. Hey, Uncle Tony, a couple of weeks ago, I asked about TBI running rich, and you said check the white wire. It was burnt. I decided to swap to a carb. Any tips on TBI to carb swap?
Charles, this is why I get paid the big bucks. Not bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Solid swap to carb. Any tips on TBI to carb swap? No. Just put a conventional distributor in the thing. From a carbureted car. intake manifold, carburetor, and you need a fuel pump that's gonna, or you need to regulate the fuel pressure down to 6 or 7 pounds psi. And
I think his in-tank pump, all he has to do is put a regulator on that. And because if it's a TBI, it's probably only running at 8 psi or so.
No, they're higher than that. The Chryslers are higher than that. I know.
Oh, it's a Chrysler.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 32 or 35.
Oh, that's awfully high for TBI. I didn't know that.
Andrew Button, I want to see how much NOS 225 will take. Can you do it? Send me, the motor you want me to blow up, right, and the nitrous to do it with, and yeah, no problem. I would love to. Let's see.
Hey, Tony, I saw a Chevy Monza with 5 leaf blowers on it on an episode of Roadkill.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that one too. That was a while ago.
What magazine did you write for? At one time or another, all of them.
Wasn't your big one like Cars?
Cars Illustrated.
Cars Illustrated?
Yeah, and then that became Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords. But I wrote for magazine I wrote for Muscle Car, High Performance Pontiac, Vet. I was a technical editor for all of those magazines, and I wrote for them also. Cars Illustrated, Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords, Street Strip Supercar, Mopar Action, Mustang Action.
Oh, Mopar
Drag
Action
Racing Illustrated, Drag Racing Monthly, Super Stock and Drag Illustrated, Hot Rod.
You worked at Superstock SSDI with Brett Kepner?
No, I know the Prince of Darkness. I know Brett. But Mr. Dirt is what he's known.
Right. Well, he was one of my very first members.
No, I worked with Steve Collison.
Okay. I have a bunch of them somewhere. I'll see if I can dig them up, and then see if you can, if I can find some of your old work for you.
Was it Muscle Illustrated? No, never did Muscle Illustrated. I did Muscle Car magazine.
Muscle Car Review?
No, Muscle Car. Did I write for Auto Buff? No. But when I was working for one of these publishing companies, and they did all of their porn magazines on the floor underneath us.
That'd be awesome. Hey, I'm just gonna go take a break. That's your 4th break in the past hour, Tony.
They did women's magazines, right? On one floor, the same floor that we were working on.
Like all dudes? Like
no, women's magazines, like like home and garden type magazines.
Oh, no, okay.
Right. And then on the floor underneath, they did all the porn and stuff. Yeah,
oh, that's funny. Greg McDonald's asking, did you happen to see the Garage 54 episode where they put on 5 flywheels to see how it affected the engine?
I started watching it, and then I got sidetracked. But yeah, I started watching that.
Lisa B, is it possible to build a 1,000,000-mile motor? Yes, Lisa. Matter of fact, Tony's got one sitting in the shop.
My the 170 in my 64 Dart has got. I couldn't tell you exactly how many miles it's gone on it, but I could tell you definitely it's because I got it from the original family, and it has been in continuous use since 1964. I bought the car about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I know I myself put about 200,000 miles on it, and all of that, it saw 2 oil changes.
So Mike N says, Dear Penthouse Forum, I was swapping my piston when.
Tom Muse, did you catch the video on the oil pump drive? I did not, Tom. I haven't stopped moving. I was at the shop fabricating a doghouse for the Miata. So because I'm stoked on that project. So I've been working on that. I haven't looked at any type of YouTube stuff.
Your ashtray rings like a bell. Oh yeah, that's our gold pan. Should I remove the mic from the gold pan?
Yeah.
Now here, I'll go stick it on the computer.
Okay. John, this is a good question. All right. Justin Almacher. How do you determine between a fuel issue or an ignition issue?
Oh, I just had to do this.
All right, let me give it my way, right?
Uh-huh.
I can determine between a fuel issue and an ignition issue literally quicker than I can blink my eye, right? It's the speed at which the misfire happens or the issue happens. So in other words, if it's any type of electrical problem, okay, it'll be sharp, right? just like that. Any type of fuel problem, it'll be soft. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's like just as soon as a problem hits, I can determine whether it's ignition or fuel based on the feel of the problem.
Well, I just recently had to do this, and I was going down the road, 60 miles an hour, 2,500 RPM, right? And it started missing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's missing. I wonder if it's an ignition problem. Speed up, 65, problem goes away.
Right.
Slow down, problem goes away. It was right at 2,500 RPM, and I'm like, oh, that's the coil. No, that was the beginning of that fuel filter collapsing.
Okay, so now watch.
Right.
So that's me. I'm driving this now. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You give it gas, right, and she doesn't want to accelerate. If
At first it did.
If as you give it gas, it shudders,
Uh-huh.
it's ignition. If as you give it gas, it holds back, it's fuel.
It's fuel. And that's how I ended up determining it the second go round, because when I did it the first time, it was actually just 2,500 RPM. And I thought, it's got to be either the pickup coil or the coil on that distributor's going out. But yeah, it's definitely tough. But like you said, go out there and mat the sucker. And if it falls straight on its face, it's a fuel issue.
Debbie Sean's carburetors do not have misses. You are correct about that. I mischaracterized I should have just said issue. Oh, Zero's back. We can all relax now.
Yeah, kick back and hang out, I guess. Oh.
V8X Beast, what's the trick to choosing Holly main jets? Is there a trick that I'm not aware of? I don't know. I read plugs. A lot of people use the air fuel gauge, and it's fine. Do that. I like to read plugs, mostly because the air fuel gauge, unless you've got each cylinder, unless you're able to measure each cylinder, you can't tell whether it's the rich or lean issue is isolated in a particular part of the engine. Whereas if you read plugs, then you could say, well, I got to take a little jet away from here, and I got to add a little jet here. You can balance it that way. So that's why I do it the old school way.
I do just like you.
Yeah.
I've never been able to afford one of those AFR gauges. I mean, I have one in my race car.
Right.
That's the only thing I ever put it in. And I still don't know. I still will pull the plug, and just look at the plug and go, okay, we're nice and toasty marshmallow, or we're not,
Mark and Good Dallas. Love the gang sign on the thumbnail. 15 Mexicans just went to war. That's great. Lucy Carpet, UT and gang, the videos have been great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We work tirelessly to make these work. What's your solution for fixed floor jets in later thermoquads?
Fixed floor jets and later thermoquads. I'm not sure what it is.
Is it like a Q jet, like where it has just a jet that's pressed in and you just change a metering rod?
No, I mean,
secondary.
Don't get me wrong. I'm no Q-jet scientist. I've used.
He's talking about
thermoquad rather. I'm no thermoquad scientist. I've used them. I've played with them.
I've got one right here. Let's look and see if they have the pressed-in jet.
No, it's just screwed in.
Are they?
Well, it's got there's a little well at the bottom of the float bowl. You see it?
I'm looking right now. I'm trying to determine where. See, I don't know jack crap about these thermoquads, but I'm assuming.
Thank you, Josh.
I'm assuming that. Let's see, it doesn't have anything like a Q-jet.
Yeah, there's the drop rods go over here for the primary.
Is that that's just a primary?
Yeah.
There's your hanger, spring, and your primary metering rods.
There's a jet, so screw in the jet.
That's for the secondary? That's for the primary.
That's for the primary.
He's talking about the Preston ones or the whatever fixed ones for the secondary, I think, isn't he?
Yes.
And then the secondary would have to have either another set of metering rods, or is this? That's where the bolts go. That's how little I know about thermal quad.
Yeah, flip over the lid there.
Okay.
Here, right here. These are the secondary jets.
Okay. That is for your primaries, isn't it?
No, these are primaries.
So this whole deal right here is for your secondaries? Your secondary, you have a metering rod assembly?
Yeah, the metering rod goes through here. We're doing all of this. Here. Metering rods go right here, like this.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you see the relationship right here? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then you flip that over. No, flip it over.
Okay.
These are the jets for the secondaries. See here's the spray bar for the secondaries?
Uh-huh. Okay. So is there any jets for the primary?
Yeah, just for the primaries right here.
They're the same jet?
No, it's two separate things. Here, look, flip it back over. No, flip this over. Flip this over. Okay. This right here seals
right
in
there.
Here.
Yeah.
In here. Okay. Then these dip down into the bowl.
These have to. They would sit here with the primary metering rod.
Here's a hole that the primary metering rod goes through.
Oh.
See?
Huh. I don't think so. I think
Flip it over and look. See? Primary metering rod goes through that hole right there. Okay? And drops into the jet. Right? And then right here, located like right here, is where the secondary one sits.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
And they're close to each other.
All right. And I didn't get that. But I do now.
Right over
so he's talking about these.
Thank you, my evil brother.
Well, he's talking about what's your solution for the jets that are pressed in here, right?
I have none. I've never tuned one. I've never messed with a thermal quad to that extent.
As you can see, we were messing with it right now. I don't know how the damn thing even works. Tony brought this over when we did our spreadboard discussion. And man, this would be the second time I've ever seen one in my life. Well, I take that back. I've seen them in the junkyard, and I usually just leave them because I don't know enough about them. And it's still sitting on my table, not reassembled. I don't know crap about it. Maybe I should get a book.
What was a duster burning at the end of what movie? Big Bear?
Best setting for a thermoquad is on the shelf. Death-proof charger.
I don't know about the burning duster.
Burning duster.
Let's see. Dirty Mary Crazy Lighter is a duster? It looked like a charger to me. Huh. Okay.
Well, didn't they have a charger in that movie?
Yeah, the movie was all about a charger, but he's saying at the end of the movie it crashes into a train and bursts into flames.
Does it?
Yeah. Which I always thought was terrible because the blonde was cute.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
No, like the movie that I'm aware of that where they crash into stuff is oh man. Dang it. Vanishing Point. Or at the very end, Kowalski drives straight into that bulldozer.
That was a 67 Camaro.
Right, that they trashed.
Yeah.
But his Challenger in that movie was badass.
Let's see. Andrew Button says he remembers it being a charger. I remember it being a charger too, but I mean, it could be wrong.
He said charger.
Big Bear says it was right. Duster was on fire. Let's see. Bargain good. Why would you cut the accelerator pump needle in half on an AFB? I have no idea.
Accelerator pump needle.
Kyla Penley. Uncle Tony, serious question. How do you keep water out of Plan B with the holes around the hood? Plan Z. Well, the holes aren't in the hood. The holes are, You open the hood and the holes are all underneath the hood. No water gets in there.
Max.
Oh, wait.
Dasher.
Kyla. I'm sorry. Okay. You're saying, how do I keep with all of the holes? It never gets driven. It's not a street car. It'll never see rain or anything like that. It's a track only car.
So this Dick Dastardly is saying, what causes those to drip gas into engine when it's not running? I'm assuming he's talking about quadrajet.
Well, it could be any engine. What causes those to drip gas into an engine?
I guess if you were to look at it, any engine, any carburetor,
yeah,
it's always the well plugs at the bottom of the fuel bowl, float bowls, and
yeah, but it could also be heat soak causing the fuel inside the carburetor
to vaporize,
boil over, right, and drip, which is a very common thing.
Huh.
Let's see. Hot manifold.
He's saying thermoquad. Max Wedge, Dick Dastardly is saying thermoquad.
Okay.
I don't know if there's. It would have to be the jets that we just looked at in the bowl, right?
Oh! I know your problem. Okay, Max Wedge, I have your problem. I'm going to show you what your problem is. You got that?
You need that thermoquad.
Yeah. You're going to love this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. You see that right there? Okay. That is supposed to be sealed to the well here with a rubber ring.
O-rings.
It's not an O-ring.
Oh, really?
No, it's not an O-ring. It's like a cush ring.
There was one in here. There was a.
I know.
Like black, right?
I know. I threw it in there, right, just to get this thing to run. I threw that in. That's not the right piece. If you get a rebuild kit, it'll come with the right.
Oh, it has a ring right here.
Yeah, it's a little O-ring. Yeah, this is not the one that's in here is not the one that belongs.
How about this one?
No, these were just things I threw in there to get this thing to idle. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. A rebuild kit would have the fresh springs, but when these go bad, okay, when you shut the car off, you'll see it drip, 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 drip down into the motor. Let's see. What?
Texas Mopar saying Joe Dirt's a real Mopar dude reading Auto Trader at that freak's house. We call those square rings quad rings. Okay.
Doozer's Speed Shop asks, how many CFM does a 4-barrel Holley teapot carburetor flow? Thinking of replacing it with another carb. I think they're small, man. I'm very not familiar with those carburetors, but I think they're only about 400 CFM.
You know, you had me come clean out your all the Q-Jet stuff out of your drawers. How much Carter stuff was in there?
Not as much as I thought.
Me neither, because I'm like, man, this is a lot of Q-Jet stuff. All right? Like, holy cow. And they got accelerator pumps for just about everything.
Maximo Fabroni. How many horses can you get from an extreme preparation of an aspirated slant six? And normally, a naturally aspirated slant six, quarter mile use. Naturally aspirated, I think, I could be wrong, but I think a maximum effort engine is probably worth about 375 or so, maybe 400 horsepower. I think that's about the ultra outer limits for that configuration, normally aspirated. There are guys that get over 600 horsepower of them blown, turbocharged or with nitrous, but 350 to 400 horsepower is like normally aspirated. I'm going to guess is about the outer limits for that engine.
So this guy here, Google Sucks, is saying, Dallas, on a Buick 350, how much slack on the timing chain is acceptable? I have about a half an inch of play. I've seen them with a ton of slop. I don't know why, and it'll be a brand new timing chain, and you get another one from a different manufacturer, and it's the same way. I have seen, though, that on some of the high-end machine shop forum, or not forum, but Facebook pages that I follow, that Buick had an issue when they machined, well, not necessarily an issue. They had a whacked out tolerance for when they would machine a cam bore, right?
Okay.
And it'd be like 0.008 off center, which is a hell of a lot. Like if you think about it, if you got your crank 0.008 off, right, it'd be breaking all kinds of stuff. I mean, I can't believe that they would be that far off, but I've seen them where they're pretty far off. There is options, but some of them are just slack. Some of them are not. Try a different manufacturer on the timing chain.
There's an interesting phenomenon having to do with timing chains. Okay, and this is something I've tried to look into, and I cannot find any information on it at all. But years ago, I want to say it was about 25 years ago now, right? Or thereabouts. I had a buddy of mine with a super stock car. It was a super stock D-automatic Hemi Belvedere, one of the factory super stock cars.
Okay.
And at the time, everybody was going to a belt drive.
Oh, okay, right, like Jessel or something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I talked to somebody at Jessel. Now I don't remember what. I don't remember because this was the thing to do. Okay. Everybody, and I had my fuel car, and I had my buddy's super stock motor in the garage, and I used to bounce back between the two of them. And I talked to somebody at Jessel about this, and what they told me was that there's a phenomenon called bicycle chaining. Okay, now if you Google this, you're not going to find it because I have tried. Okay, I mean, like I really tried to research this because it's something I'm very curious about. It's a phenomenon called bicycle chaining, where under certain conditions, the slack on a timing chain, right, will actually act to advance the cam.
Okay.
You would think that if the timing chain was stretched with slack, that all of the slack would be on the not the
pull side,
but the push side.
Right.
Okay. But evidently, under certain conditions, under certain RPMs, certain conditions, a phenomenon called bicycle chaining takes place, where the slack part of the cam, of the chain, moves to the pull side and forms like an S. And when it does that, it advances the cam timing. Okay. And the reason why the superstock guys were going to the belt drive was because the belt drive was not susceptible to that phenomenon of bicycle chaining. Now, this is something, like I said, I talked to, I don't remember who it was at Jessel I talked to about this, but it stuck in my head. And since then, I've gone back to it. I even actually wanted to make a video about this because it's something I'm curious about. And I tried, I researched, I Googled as best I could to find any sort of information on it, and there's like zero. So, but it's something I'm going to look into again.
Well,
bicycle
now
chaining.
that you are aware of it,
heard about.
Well, it wouldn't be too hard to get a bicycle and then slack the chain enough to where it would do that chain deal, and you could watch it happen. Then,
well, you have to have a certain load on it and have to be spinning at a certain speed. You know,
the one I put together in this 300 motor, right? Same thing. I got it right out of the box, put it on the motor, and it's like, well, that sucker's awfully slack, you know. But I'm telling you, I went and got a different one from in town, just a regular non-roller timing chain. Put it on, and the sucker was still just as slack. So I think it has a lot to do with that 0.008 tolerance they had, where what it is they're not straight. The cam is not straight in there. I think it's 0.008 slack, where the offset is actually toward the crank. The 0.008 tolerance, which makes the chain slack. That's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, I've had a couple of them like that, and I put them back together, and you try to play with chains and take up that slack. But most of the time, you're going to find that you can't get it out. Not unless you buy a chain if it was 10,000 shorter. I mean, if they offered one.
JW, any benefit to using an open space on a Holly 4-barrel carb? So a Ray Cook 1-1 back in the day in his Superstock A '71 Challenger. Well, no, I knew Ray Cook. He never had a Holly on that. It's a super stock car. There's a Hemi, a pair of AFBs. So you're maybe confusing. He had a comp car after that. He had a Plymouth Arrow that he crashed. I'm going to say like on the car's second or third pass. I was actually there through the whole construction of that car. It was at Mikey Tarnowski, so Mikey T on Staten Island. He built that car, and then he rebuilt it after the crash. That on there, he probably had a single 4-barrel because it was a super stock GT car, but I don't remember the class. And so it wouldn't have been his Challenger. The Challenger was a Hemi with a pair of AFBs, and he had a rat roaster. It was a rat roaster manifold on that. But the single 4-barrel was probably the Arrow that he crashed. And but yes, there's absolutely a benefit to that.
Scott Kuhn is saying that search YouTube videos for motorcycle drive chains.
Okay.
Because Harleys went to
belts
as well.
That was to make it quiet.
Was it?
Smoother, yeah, and so you don't have to make adjustments and stuff like that.
Oh, there you go. Fabrication Ranch says it's like when you pull the chain on a chain hoist too fast.
It curves.
And it curves.
Well, okay. Yeah, but wait, it's curving. It curves, but it curves on the slack end, right? Not on the pull end. This phenomenon of bicycle chaining actually takes place on the pull side of things.
I wonder if it's during deceleration.
No, they don't care about it. It's drag racing. Nobody cares about deceleration.
Right, but well, yeah, you're right. No one would test that.
Let's see.
Huh. That's a good thought. It'd be neat to do it. I wonder, does anybody make a clear timing chain cover? Or could you put a camera in?
That would be a neat thing to have.
Right, yeah, I'm thinking like we just make a plexiglass face on one.
That could be a very cool thing that we could do on your engine stand. We could make a plexiglass timing cover and put the engine through its paces and see exactly what it does.
With a slack chain and then a tight chain.
Yeah, that could be. We should work on that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good idea. We'll see if we can get one of them timing chain covers for like a small block Chevy that's where you can pull the face off, you know what I mean, and adjust the gears. We'll just make a plexiglass cover and put it right on that sucker. Screw it down. Bruce W says he uses a cam chain tensioner.
With the V6. Yep.
Is the 239? Is that a Chrysler V6?
Yeah, they took 2 cylinders off of the 318.
Okay. Buy a Jessel. Hey, some of us can't afford a Jessel.
Or break the chain drive on a CB750 Honda when the chain bunches up. It will tackle your case. I know. I've had it happen. I know. Clay, because you have 2 rotating shafts, would inertia play a part in somehow getting the slack of the chain on the pull side? It's possible. Like I said, this is something from that was a state-of-the-art thing at the time that I questioned, and that was the answer that I got. And then, because I mean, and honestly, at the time, I was more concerned with gear drives because everything I was running at the time was blown on nitro, so everything had gear drives. So it was just something I stored in the back of my head for future reference, and I guess this is future reference.
It'd be something that's definitely because I know chains will act weird when you get a lot of movement through them.
Yeah,
and it works on the inertia of the chain itself, but it also plays into a factor of the circular motion of whatever gear or cog it's turning on, right?
Well, it was even like you look at the camera, right? On the camera, they had to advance the left-hand cam 2 degrees because of the slack in the chain.
Okay.
Right? Because you had the giant timing chain, it was like 6 foot long, and whatever the hell it was, right?
Right.
But the left, let me see, facing the motor, the one on the left side had to get advanced 2 degrees.
Okay.
Right, so that under load it was straight up.
Oh,
there was a stretch in there
compared to the other one.
Yeah.
So I saw this question here. French Onion's asking, is AHRA going to have Slingshot Dragsters? We already have a class for dragsters, to tell you the truth. We have a class called Econo Comp. It was meant to be around like the regular grassroots Bucks Up Racer that had a dragster and a carbureted motor on it. It's a weight to cubic inch class. It doesn't allow power adders or nothing like that. And you can't run nitro, but you can run gasoline or methanol. And then next year, we're going to have another class that adds to that if I can get some sponsors. So if you know some sponsors that want to get their name all over and promoted, let me know.
Tony, make some videos with the 66 Dart. That old boy is so badass. It's so the opposite of badass, and that's why I love it so much.
Dan's Garage says that the chain bicycling, he said that's going to be reversing pistons 2.0.
My plan for that Dart is I just want to do a road trip with it. You know what I mean? I want to do like a whole Route 66 type of thing eventually.
Ever go to Huntsville Dragway? No.
No, it's right down the road, but I don't get to any drag strips. I mean, honestly, I am so bound to the land here between everything that goes on with the channel and the cars and the shop and everything else. I don't get any drag strips. Max Wedge, Dix, absolutely. Are timing gears with a bearing on the back of the top gear a good thing? Are you in a Torrington bearing that's used like on a gear drive? Yeah.
Somebody keeps asking about I think it's stretch. I think they use the belts on motorcycles for stretch. It might be for noise or vibration and harshness.
Well, you don't have to adjust them.
I know there's no slack to them whatsoever.
Right.
You crack the throttle and they're freaking going.
Yeah.
That's why they use on Top Fuel Dragsters a Gilmer belt. It's not for noise. It's for accuracy, right? That's what, because remember the old school Top Fuel cars? Some of them would have chains. They'd have double rollers. But they took them off and they started running Gilmer belts.
Ventries, what is the difference between a Carnet D500 and a Carnet D501? Well, I don't know the specifics. Both of those Carnets used Chrysler engines. The D501 was like a NASCAR package, but I don't like it's something stuck in the back of my head. What the specific difference
would that be like
was.
66, 67?
No, 56.
Okay.
57. I'm not even sure of the years, but the 501 was like a race package.
They used to do weird stuff in them, like custom grill and stuff like that, just for that one-off package. You know what I mean?
No, this was like hardcore stuff. The car was built a specific way to go racing.
Right. Okay.
Less parasitic loss with a belt. Well, you've got less surface. I'm telling you, the allergies.
SD, yes, I do have a Buick drag race project. It's an old school style super stock. It's actually got to be trapped in the 1967. So it's a 63 Buick Special that's got to look like a 63 Buick Special.
We've done stuff with that car. If you just Google Buick, excuse me, not Google, excuse me.
If you check it out, it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
But I'm busy putting the motor and training and all that stuff together right now, and I'm trying to get the car ironed out. And you can't see it because the camera's facing the opposite direction, but I got 3 oil pans lined up here and a 4th homemade oil pan kit from Speedway Motors so that I can cobble myself an oil pan for this super stock motor.
Thank you, Donna Wendy English. It didn't come out. It will. It's stuck.
Yeah, you'll sneeze on your way, like while you're sleeping, on your way home.
You didn't miss much, Ari. Just a trapped sneeze. Our Rider of a Pale Horse says the chain movement has a scientific name. We did an example of it using a ball chain, letting it feed out of a container. The chain will lift itself up and make a bow the faster it goes. Okay, yeah, I guess that's the same phenomenon.
Huh.
Maybe listen, I might be wrong by saying bicycle chain. Maybe that's just a phrase that they use, or maybe that's just a.
Well, no, and I've seen this before. All right, you go to Lowe's, you know that box of chain they got?
Yeah.
What was funny when we were kids was we'd walk by that box of chain and you do that science experiment where it does the slinky. You pull a chain out and it keeps going. And as it keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden the chain will keep jumping out and it will literally curve. Right?
Okay.
And, but yeah, and then it'll eventually pull the entire box of chain out.
Let's see. What do I need to go from a Slant 6 to a 318?
First, the 318 motor.
You need a set of conversion mounts because assuming you're going to keep the Slant 6 K-frame, Transdapt has a mount set that's like $60. I've used it countless times. You could buy like the TTI ones with a Schumacher, and they're like, I don't know, like $17,000 for a set of motor mounts. You can get the same ones through Transdapt for $60. And transmission, you're gonna have to change transmission because the bolt pattern is different. And other than that, that's pretty much it.
So here's something interesting. Miss Third says in Smokey's Power Secrets, he used a plexi cover on, I'm assuming the timing chain, had to put a light inside the cover to see the chain well.
That's right. I forgot about that. He
stated it looked like a snake in a hot oven.
I forgot about that. You're absolutely right. And I have a copy of that book. And I'm going to go, when I leave here tonight, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reread that.
You know, that would be cool is if we fab something up, see if we can find like $100 small block Chevrolet, right, takeout motor, and then just make our own freaking timing cover or something of that nature so we can see the whole thing going on. And just get one that's got a bazillion miles on it.
We'll try it.
Run. Yeah. Cadillac had a 500 cubic inch KD.
Jake Braun, was it you that was putting the Buick in the Mercedes? How's it coming? Yeah, the car's right here.
Yeah, I actually got the motor and transmission in the Mercedes. We were working on getting the shifter, the seat installed, and what's the other thing we're working on? Oh, drive shaft. I got to make a drive shaft. So we're going to take a 65 Buick LeSabre drive shaft and cut it and make it work with the Mercedes and then just weld it together ourselves. So hopefully it doesn't have a lot of vibration. I don't know if that's true right there.
What's that?
Can you read that?
Dulcich says, Smokey don't know shit. Well, that's exactly what Steve said in the comment he made on my video. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see. Old Corny's garage. Oh, no, he's talking to somebody else. Bargain good. I think UT's getting a super flu again. That was the Rona I had.
Oh, you think he was?
Oh, absolutely.
I think I had that before that thing got big.
Right. We all had it. Everybody in this area had it.
Like November of 2019. I got so sick. I hadn't been that sick in forever.
Kathy got it in December, and I got it. She got it like the beginning of December, and I had it 2 weeks later. Everybody in this area, Middle Tennessee, had 100% of all of the symptoms of the Rona
before there was Rona.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got sick. And I remember I said that was weird because I went on Facebook. I said, like, man, this was the sickest I've been in a long time, right? And then it was like 3 months later we had coronavirus.
It was crazy. I coughed nonstop for a month and a half.
Chinese bat flu.
Let's see. UT lost his voice. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but from the last time you were sick?
No, for that during that Rona thing.
Oh. I know last time you were sick, you were wrecked. You
Hey,
came in here like
Gonzo.
a
I
week
haven't seen
later.
Gonzo in a long time. How you doing, brother? French Onion says the Rona was here way before it blew up. Where are you, French Onion? Terry Burns.
Yeah, he
Southwest
says.
of Louisville. Okay.
Yeah, he said he
You're
had
in
it
my
too.
region.
Petronics flamethrower distributor.
Yeah, John Weaver. What do you think of the Petronics flamethrower? I don't use them. People use them. They have good results with them. Other people use them and have bad results with them. I don't know. I don't use them myself. They make as good a product as anybody these days. I wish you luck with it.
I think they're Chinese, but I stay away from them. I try to use the factory stuff. There's a reason why the factory stuff ran for 100,000 miles.
That is absolutely true. Good night, Doug.
See, so this guy's Jason's Garage is saying that I had it in Ohio between Christmas and New Year's in 2019. See, I'm telling you, I got that thing. And
oh, Gonzo, you had to have your middle finger amputated from infection. Oh, bro, I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, infection in the bone.
Yeah, that's not good.
I had my jawbone got infected. Did I ever tell you that? Like when I first joined the Navy, I'd like there's probably some military guys on here or were once in the military. I was in the Navy about 27 seconds and they pulled my wisdom teeth out, right? I mean, literally like second stop, here's food and here's you getting your wisdom teeth pulled out, right? And they pulled my wisdom teeth and broke my jaw, right? The guy broke my jaw, pulling them out. Oh, and then they just sewed the skin over the top of the other one and hey, sent you on your way. Hey, if you start having pain, just take these pills. Well, here I'm like, my eyes all turned black and blue underneath, right? And I had this horrible rotting smell and taste in my mouth all the time. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? My face swelled up enormous, right? And I went back to the dentist 2 weeks later for my checkup. And he's like, oh, geez, what? You should have came in here. I'm like, well, you told me to come back in 2 weeks.
Let's see.
Google Sex says, I got sick when I was a kid just after I ate Chinese food. I think I was patient zero.
Bob Burns says the same thing happened to him in the Army in 1966.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a good thing. Nothing's changed. So that's about 95. Is there any advantage to using a fluid dampener on a big block Chrysler versus a traditional balancer? Yeah, that fluid dampener is going to really pull some vibration out.
They do work, but
they're expensive.
They're expensive, and honestly, to a certain point, under let's say 400. Let's call it like between like 400 and 500 horsepower. Less than that, you really don't have enough evil harmonics in the valve in the
crankshaft
assembly. Yeah, you don't really have enough evil harmonics to really make those things worth their keep. But the higher up the scale you go, the more important it becomes.
Jake Braun, a fluid dampener is a vibrational dampener that you would replace the harmonic balancer with, and it's filled with like a gel fluid that absorbs the harshness of the vibrations. And here's Fubar putting up AHRA online. Hey, so speaking of that, we got Slanted Nationals, September 5th, Sykeston, Missouri. We're coming at you with the most wicked slant cars on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Including Plan Z Dart. It's going to be there in all her, what is it? What would you call it? Hold lightness, I guess. I don't know. Nothing's lighter than a hole. Isn't that what you said?
That's right. One thing is lighter than a hole.
Rust hole, be it rust, be it acid dipped, be it just a drill and a hole saw.
Gonzo 59. Ask Ultra Kathy if she would send me a picture of the wall art cat she painted. I want to show my son to see if he could do for one of my cars. She's watching. I'm sure she's watching. If she's not, can you remind me to? All right. Yes. Brad G. Tony, will he be at Carlisle this year? Not if they pull this mask bullshit. I won't be.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, last year, Carlo always said that you had to have a mask.
Carlisle, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, the swap meet.
The big Mopar swap meet deal?
And they said that if you're going to be on lines for any of the food or you got to go to the bathroom or anything like that, you got to wear a mask. I'm just not going any place I got to wear a fucking mask.
Well, George Carlin said it the best. Like, he was like, we had an immune system for this shit. He said, I played in shit when I was a kid. You know what I got when I got older? Nothing.
Bruce W., what's the bet? Plan Z breaks the rear end of Slanted Nationals.
Nah, I bet it won't.
We'll find out.
Isn't it a small little 6 1/4 or whatever it is?
It's a 7 1/4 rear, but the car only weighs 2,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's going to be plenty. I mean, what's that Slant 6 making? Maybe 280 horse?
If that.
And so the torque on it's probably 250, 275?
Yeah, it's not going to break it.
Nah.
Jason's
Carlisle.
garage ordered a UTG shirt. You're awesome, Jason's garage.
Yeah, well, Boss Racing says Carlisle, PA was awesome this year. No masks.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a possibility I go then. Let's see.
Chrysler was the first company to introduce disc brakes on all 4 wheels on a passenger car in the 70s.
Yeah.
The only other car that had disc brakes was the Corvette. No, the Lincoln Versailles had disc brakes then, didn't it? All 4 wheels.
The Chrysler Imperial. Not the Imperial. Was it the Imperial?
I remember the early Chryslers, they had a weird disc brake set up on the fronts.
Yeah, no, that's what he's talking about. The 70, oh God, what year was it? I don't know, I was drawing a blank.
Well, Magnante did a video on one of them. I like that guy. He's a good guy. And please, Magnante, don't come out with a video saying reversing pistons, blah, 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 because I don't want to put you on the list. Not that I have a list, but I guess I would probably have to make a list.
Let's see. Tony, if a Carb is 300 CFM more than the max CFM I pulled on the dyno, is it going to hurt throttle response? Depends. You see a lot of that. You see, there's so many depends questions. It depends on so many factors, you know. Generally speaking, no. But how do you even start to answer a question like that?
I don't know. I would say no. There you go. No, it's not going to hurt it.
But that's not the right answer. It's the right answer, but it's not the answer that you want. Like that has like insight and stuff like that. But I'm more focused on trying to keep the sneeze or trying to get the sneeze out than I am trying to remember. You know, oh God, this is terrible.
Well, in reality, look at it like this.
I gotta blow my nose. I'll be right back.
It depending upon what kind of carburetor it is, if it's a vacuum secondary or it's a double pumper, that's where it's going to make all the difference in the world. Right? If you have a large vacuum secondary, it's not going to matter whatsoever. Now, if you go into a double pumper setup and it's 300 CFM more than what you originally tested it on, the velocity of the air through the carburetor will be slower.
Okay,
but jetting the carburetor correctly.
But okay, so the question started out as throttle response. Will it hurt throttle response? Well, throttle response on the dragster or throttle response on the street? Throttle response pulling out of your driveway or mixing it with traffic, or throttle response fucking leaving the starting line? It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's just so many.
Which throttle response situation do you want to be in?
Right. Is it a part throttle response or is it a slam in the throttle response? Because you can make up for the slam in the throttle response with shooter size and stuff like that. Squirter rather.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It was like you can make a lot of that up by jetting the carburetor correctly, having the correct accelerator pump on there, the correct squirter. If it's a Holly, you can adjust. You can change that squirter, right? So, and it depends if it's a annular booster or man, I don't know. There's just so many variables for that, but I think you can actually play with that thing and make it work. I'm sure you can. There, somebody typed something.
I was just going to, Maxwell just think that's like, what's the best guess on a Plan Z ET? I'm guessing 14s. I tell you what, I haven't done this. Go to a power speed calculator. Figure the motor is going to make around 225 horsepower or so to the wheels, thereabouts, ballpark between 225, 250 horsepower. And the car is going to weigh 20. The car with me in it, the car will weigh 2275 on the starting line. So figure that one out, and that'll tell you what ET it should run.
So Mike Trejo is saying, "Hey UTG, great channel. Got a new gen Hemi I'm rebuilding. Does the valve lapping procedure stay the same? And does your extra power tips work on the valves?"
I believe those valves are a little more advanced than the ones that I think they're already pretty much contoured. But yeah, you can lap them in the same way.
Is there a simple way? Jake Brown's asking, is there a simple way to measure CFM? No, everybody seemed to use a completely different one for every different carburetor.
Yeah, and you can't go, it's not like Holly to Edelbrock or Carter, right? It's not apples to apples. 700 CFM, you know, an 800 Holly, 800 AFB, two completely different animals. And then of course there's the difference between 2-barrel, 4-barrel, 1-barrel, all different. So CFM rating is kind of like CFM rating is kind of like a fantasy. It's like there's no uniform.
What's the best carb in your opinion for off-road? Well, you're going to have to learn this because your gambler's going to need one, right?
Yes.
But I've seen an off-road Holly, right? I don't know how well they work. And with the Holly having the float bowls on both ends,
right,
to me, no bueno. Because you get in those extreme tilt situations and your float's going to be all fucked, right?
Well, the off-road Holly has the vents. I don't know what modifications they do on the inside of them, but the vents, instead of the vents being open like this,
right, they're curled,
they have a crossover tube.
Oh, really?
They joined, and then they have so. I guess that.
Well, in my personal opinion, the one I think would be the best for this, and then I know it's going to sound biased, but it's not because it's the only one I can think of that would work well, would be the Quadrajet because the float is in the center of the carburetor.
The Quadrajet would probably be a very good choice for an off-road carburetor.
You want to do that on Plan Z? You got a spreadboard, huh?
Then you're talking about the Gambler?
Or the Gambler. I'm sorry. Did I say Plan Z? The Gambler 500. Do you have a spreadboard carburetor or intake manifold for a trade?
I'm either going to use a Holly or a Carter.
You don't want to go Q-Jet? You gave me a ton of Q-Jet parts. Let's build a Q-Jet for it.
No. I want to keep it.
Oh yeah, your whole fleet
in my pocket. You know what I mean? In fact, I've got the Q-Jet on my record that I was going to pull off, and I picked up a spreadboard Holly for it. I was going to pull the Q-Jet off my record and give it to you too.
Off-road center hung float. Yes, that's what I would do. That'd be in the center, right? The least amount of movement.
How's the Jake Brown? How's the Gambler car coming? Really good. All of the metal work is done. I front to back, right? That's all done. I
slag hammer.
Yeah, the slag hammer, right? The slag hammer. All of the metal work is done. I even patched that quarter panel. That was all jacked up and shit like that. So yeah, all the metal work is done. Now the next step is going to be very tedious. There's a lot of cleaning and scraping and grinding, and because I want the car to look good, right? So the next step is very time consuming, tedious. It's making it nice. And I got all the stuff to build the motor too.
Ben Tree says, it'd be really awesome is if you guys bought a Dodge Ram Charger and put a 426 Hemi in it and went off road. No, that wouldn't be awesome. There's a reason why they call that motor the elephant, because you put all that weight on the front of that dang Ram Charger, and I'm sure you'd be stuck in the first mud hole you come to. It would sound badass though trying to get out. I mean, there would be nothing that sounded like it trying to get out. Man, that's one heavy motor. It'd be like having a 7.3 Power Stroke in there trying to off-road that.
What engine for the Gambler? It's a 3D3. We're going to do an episode on that engine. The only thing, I've got everything for it. Like 100% of everything for it. I have to get the crank cut. The crank I want to use on an engine needs like a 10-10 cut. But other than that, I've got all the parts to put it together. And I got to build the transmission for it too. So
mostly old parts, isn't it, your buddy?
Yes. Ron Ward.
Ron
Mostly
Ward.
old parts.
He said, Dallas, why do you suppose GM never offered a more durable manual transmission for a GS 455 than a M22? It seems those cars would snap a Muncie like a toothpick. Probably.
That's the truth. I know.
Well, before that, the Buicks were never really offered with. Well, I mean, you could get a manual if you had a small cubic inch motor.
Right.
But most of the nailheads, if you think about it, all of them came with Dynaflow. Hardly any of them came with a 4-speed. Right? There was a few of them out there that came with T10s, and it was a backdoor deal. I've only seen a handful of nailheads with the manual. But I honestly don't know. I think it was because it was the only GM transmission offered.
When I was a kid back in the 70s and the early 80s, like 4-speeds were still like really prominent, right? And all of the GM guys had stacks of broken Muncie shit everywhere, right?
Well, what was funny is when I was looking for this transmission for the Buick Special out there, I was looking at Muncie's first, and it was like these guys were like, "This thing is not good for drag racing. Do not use it for drag racing." Right. And then I stumbled upon that Power Brute T10 I got, that cast case. So,
Tony needs 650 Spreadmore Holly. I've got one, bro. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Have I ever built and raced an FE engine? I've only had one FE engine, and to be honest with you, I wasn't too successful with it, but it did run pretty good, and it did get 6 miles to the gallon, which I didn't like. Man, that sucker was thirsty. But it was I had a '66 Mercury Cyclone GT.
Okay, let's see. Rock Crushers were better. Do I think the 833 is stronger than a Muncie? Do I think the 833
I know
is
for a
stronger
fact.
than a Muncie?
Guys would take the Muncies out and then put an 833 in place of them.
Yep. That was actually.
That was pro stock. Those guys were running 833s in pro stock in like Fords and GMs.
Yep. The 833 was the only transit choice until they allowed the planetaries in, the Lenkos.
Well, and like you gave me the 833, to use. Yeah. Here.
Oh, thank you, Joshua. What's up, Uncle Tony? What did you do with the green dust? The dust you painted green? It's in my backyard. It's just sitting there. It's the only car. I just don't want to mess with it. It's just parked in the backyard, and it's just going to sit there.
And you should pull it inside. And that thing looked really nice when you got done with it.
I don't have a lot of it inside. Oh, you mean at the shop?
The shop.
Nah, I keep it in the backyard.
Yeah, you gave me the 833 because I was having a hard time finding a GM transmission that was going to handle anything. And I was limited to a 4-speed. But I did. Did I tell you I found a T85?
Did you?
And you know what that is, right?
That's the early 3-speed.
Right, but it's based. That's what the T10 is based off of.
Yeah.
Rock solid 3-speed.
They used those in the 1963 Max Wedge cars.
Did they? I was thinking about using that because it was like $300. Come get it, and I'm like, wow.
You should drive the Duster once in a while to keep the spider webs off it. I should, but do you realize how many cars I have? I got cars everywhere. So it's just done, and it's sitting in the backyard. And oh no, it's not for sale. None of my cars are for sale. Literally at any price. I don't need the money, so nothing is for sale.
Well, here's this old Corny's Garage is asking, hey, got a question. Got a 99 360 Magnum or he wants to get a 99 360 Magnum to last me 500,000 miles after I rebuild it. Was wondering on how I could get there, maintain the hell out of it, ?
Yeah, I mean, those engines come with good ring packages. Honestly, you tear one of those apart at 300,000 miles, you're still going to see crosshatch on the solar walls. Yeah, just maintain it. Expect to put a timing chain set in it every 150,000 miles, right? That or thereabouts, and just maintain it.
I would say start off with good oil to begin with. Something that's top of the line motor oil, right? Because I've taken small block Fords apart, like the 302 Fords in the 90s and in early 2000s, and say I'd get one out of like an 88 Thunderbird, right? Oh, it'd be gacked up and filled with the same black crap as all these other Buick motors I got, right? But then you get something from like 2000 or 2001 out of an Explorer and you take it apart, and it'd have the oil fill cap that say Mobile 1
right
on it. So people would just put Mobile 1 in it. When you take it apart, it had like a yellow tint to it.
Right.
But it was
like
clean as a whistle. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. I love the series at Austin 65 Fury. The videos where you are coaching the less experienced guys like myself are the most compelling and relatable videos I've seen. Thanks to all who make these EG happen. Mike, those honestly, I would like to evolve this channel to where really that's all we do. You know, that's exactly the kind of stuff that we want to do, and you're exactly the audience that we're after.
And Google Sucks is asking about this timing chain plate. Hey, Google Sucks. It is. Go ahead. Run with it again. Yeah. 1/2 inch is acceptable. I'm not going to waste another breath on it.
Let's see. When am I going to run a bottle rocket again? This Saturday. Plan Z is going to go after bottle rocket, one car at a time. I've only got so much time to devote to going to the track. You guys got to understand something, right? For me to actually get to a track is a major hassle, and even though they're just like literally like right down the road, I don't have time for that shit.
We have 9 tracks within 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just to let you know. Hey, there was something cool. When I drove to North Carolina this weekend, I went by a farm that had nothing but K cars out front.
Oh, really?
There must have been 50 of them. 50 K cars, like turbo LeBarons and all that. Wasn't it a LeBaron? Was like a little square one, right? You could get the turbo
K car
2.0
derivatives. Yeah, I love those things.
Does the pre-Magnum Roller 360s have a mechanical fuel pump provision?
It does. They don't come with the eccentric on there, but yes, they do.
Oh, is anyone meeting at your shop to cruise down to 318 Fest?
Not that I know of.
Me and Tony.
Yeah, he's taking the car on his trailer, and I'm taking the carry van so I get to take my dogs with me because I don't have a dog sitter. Thanks, Tony, and the guy sitting next to him. Anyone know his name? It's Dallas. Mopar Den's here. He's a good guy. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, we're getting close to the 2 hour mark.
Yeah, it's just about the 2 hour mark.
I've been working since 5 o'clock this morning. I am just absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, well, I haven't been working since 5, but I've been working from about 6:10. I was working on newsletter. Oh man, I tell you that's like one of the things, and I know why you don't like writing stuff anymore.
I hate writing.
I hate writing too, and I got to write the newsletter like every couple of months, and I've been slacking on it because all my events, like the first one we were supposed to do was March the 20th. It got rained out. Then I went to the one in Jeffers. We spend all day. That's the only drag race in my life I've ever loaded up for in the torrential downpour, right? And they said, we're putting it on. It's supposed to stop raining at 4 o'clock, and it's supposed to be beautiful after that, and we're racing. No shit, I'm packing everything up, torrential downpour, driving to the track, windshield wipers on, get to the track, clouds go away, sun comes out, it's gorgeous, right?
When I was running fuel cars, right? So people think that running the car itself is the difficult part.
Let's get there.
It's living that booked-in match race lifestyle that's a bitch. Because you get booked into a track, okay? We got booked into a track in Utah. I can't remember the name of this track now.
Okay.
All right. This is a 2,000-mile fucking tow, one way, 4,000-mile round trip. We got booked into this fucking race. The forecast was for fucking downpours and craziness and all kinds of other shit.
Right.
But you got no fucking choice.
You're booked into
this fucking
You're
race.
paid in, yeah.
You got to drive. You got a 4,000-mile fucking round trip ahead of you. Well, you're going to lose money because the rain money isn't going to cover but fucking
half the gas money.
Right. But you have no choice but to pack your shit up and fucking make that run, even though you know you're going to get fucking rained out. because you've got to be there. If you don't show to collect your rain money, the promoter's like, no, I'm not going to deal with those people again because they don't fucking
And then
show.
the next promoter at the next track will hear about it, and you guys don't get booked in, right?
That's it. That was the hardest part of running a car. I didn't mind. Go to bed. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to go in a few minutes. I didn't mind working 6 or 7 because there were times that we'd work literally like 4 days straight, like day and night. You know what I mean? It was no big deal to go like 72 or longer hours where it's nonstop work, no rest, no nothing, right? No food, just hustle.
And a lot of cigarettes.
A lot of
coffee.
Right? Yeah, and I mean, I've worked on the car in the trailer going down the fucking highway. You know, I've done all that shit, right? None of that is as bad as knowing you're going to a place
it could be fucking raining.
Oh, that's just going to be rained out, but you got to go anyway.
My very first year, I had a track in Maine. You ever heard of Oxford Plains Dragway?
Sure.
Okay, that's an 18-hour drive from here.
Right.
Every weekend, it was 2018. That was that weirdest weather ever up in Oxford, Maine. And every weekend we got hammered by the rain. And every weekend I reschedule. Well, hey, we're coming back up, and I'll double the money up. You know, I'll take the 2 races and put them on top of one. And dude, drive 18 hours to go get out of the car. Like, oh, that was a long drive. Fuck.
And to head right back.
Just get in the car and drive 18 hours back.
See, that's why I could never go racing again. That's why I could never do it again. I did it. I did it for years, and I have no desire, you know what I'm saying, to ever fucking do that again. And it's funny too because as much as I love drag racing, I mean, and I can honestly say, you know, there is nothing aside from like my actual living loved ones, right? That I love more than drag racing. Like nothing on earth means more to me than drag racing.
Right.
But yet I dread going to the drag strip.
Especially if it's wet weather possibility.
No, I dread going in. It could be the most perfect day in the world.
I always get like the shittiest attitude whenever it starts to sprinkle or rain. You're like, ah!
No.
Oh man,
it could be the most perfect day in the world. My ideal existence would be I set a car up, whatever it happens to be, and I hand it to you, and I say, "Go do something.
Go race.
Right, go race." And then you call me up and you say the car just ran or whatever, and I'll be like, "Good." And you'll say, "Do you want to see a video?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to see a video. I don't. I just want to know what the car did. That's it.
Add 2 more degrees of timing and let her eat."
Exactly. I dread going to the drag strip with a fucking burning passion.
Well, we're going to do it Saturday. So we'll see you all at 318 Fest. I put Uncle Tony stickers on my car, gain 3/10. Well, AHRA stickers do the same. If you get the big ones, you'll lose 3/10. But no, you put AHRA stickers on there. I'm sorry, but as you drive by, women become pregnant. I'm sorry. It just happens that way. That's how awesome those stickers are. Yeah, this weekend, 318 Fest. Why don't you let me make a pass in the bottle rocket then?
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
I'll knock the bottom end out of that sucker.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't particularly like to drive cars either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I really don't.
Oh, that's what I'd live for. I'm telling you, we should have done this before. Dang it, Tony, because this is all I ever wanted to do. Was my whole life, I just wanted to go to the racetrack on the weekends. I don't care about none of this other crap.
Yeah, but you see, I did that. I haven't
done that.
I lived for a long time where all I did was go to and from drag strips. That was it. That was my life. You know what I mean? I never want to do it again. You know what I mean? I just never want to do it again.
So Tom Muse says he hates it because of the track, because of the food and the shitters. You know, I just bought a travel trailer because of that.
When I say I don't like driving, I don't mean I don't like driving on a drag strip. I mean I dread driving from here to my fucking house.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I don't like to drive.
That far.
Here's the thing, right? I've been fortunate enough, right, to I was lucky enough to pick the right paths through life. Okay, So I got to do every single thing I ever wanted to do to the point of I don't want to do it anymore. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense to most people because, and I put an analogy to it, it works perfectly. All right, you like chocolate cake?
Yeah, how much chocolate cake can you
If
eat?
you ate it breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of the week, you would dread eating chocolate cake.
There was a period of my life when I was doing the magazines and doing the fuel cars and street racing, okay, where this lasted for about, I guess, 2 years, okay?
Yeah.
Where 7 days and nights a week, I was racing something somewhere.
You're sick of it.
I was doing drag tests for the magazines. I was with the fuel cars, and I was doing street racing. Okay, so 7 days and nights a week. When I wasn't with the fuel car, I was doing a magazine drag tests and stuff like that. When I wasn't doing drag tests, I was street racing. So it was like, it was 7 days and nights a week. All I did was fucking race, and it's like, you know what I mean? I had enough.
Yeah.
I just had enough.
Yep. Oh man, well that sounds like a wrap for this Wednesday's.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good place to stop. Why is the 400 not talked about as much as the 383 and 440? Oh, get out of town! That 400 people love that sucker.
Yeah.
That's the 452, isn't it?
What was this? Autocross and the V6 Mazda was this. No, I'm not going to drive it. I'm going to have somebody who actually knows how to autocross drive the thing.
Hey, you know that one of my guys would be that does the lemon stuff is an autocrosser, right?
Okay, well then there you go. We'll get him winding up in there.
George, but Brandon has that Miata. That's what is that thing called? I don't remember what it's called. That tube car. And he was autocrossing that thing.
Fubar's putting a link to our merch. Uncle Tony's Garage, our hats, T-shirts, stickers, mugs. We got all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So it's UncleTonyGarage.com. Dallas, they want to buy AHRA merch.
Yep. You go to www.ahraonline.com. Fubar's already got it.
Fubar's on top of everything.
Hit the merch link at the top and buy some AHRA merch. I send it to you like lickety split. I don't mess around.
Bruce, I mean, it doesn't sound like a sickness. Tony sounds like a prison sentence racing 7 days a week. No, 7 days and nights. I don't think you really fully comprehend.
A lot of chocolate cake there.
I mean, all I did, like literally all I did was race.
Yeah, I want it.
I have no desire to do it anymore. My happy place is in the shop. You know what I mean? I finish a car. I don't even want to road test it. I'm just like, here, take this fucking car and get it out of here now.
Patio Furniture is saying AHRA hood sticker like the Screaming Chicken on a Trans Am. You know that sticker would cost like $200 or more, probably more like $400 or $500.
John Wilburn wasn't around tonight. Or
isn't he doing two motors in 9 days, 2,800 something miles?
Yep, you go follow John Wilburn on what he's doing on his channel, John Wilburn. Fubar. Ari, Zero, the greatest mods in all of the
What area was in Mexico drinking a pina colada while we were modding this?
This is what I'm saying. These guys are absolutely beyond awesome. Everybody who contributed with Super Chat, thank you so much. That keeps the bills paid. We greatly appreciate it. Everybody contributed with good questions, good conversation. You know, you're why we're here. And that's it. Saturday. Well, Saturday, we're not going to do a live or anything
318 Fest.
318 Fest.
Jake's Dragway.
Jake's Dragway in someplace, Alabama.
It's in, I had pulled it up earlier. Jake's Dragster. Danville, Alabama?
Danville, Alabama. That's it. That's the 318 capital of the world. Danville, Alabama.
They open at 9 a.m.
Yes. Jake's Drag Strip in Danville.
Yeah.
They just name everything after whoever happens to be.
Bobville, Danville,
right.
Stephenville.
Okay. So that's it, guys. We're checking out Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Sunday Night Live. We'll be on there, and
you'll have some results from 318 Fest.
We'll have some results from 318 Fest. I wonder what I'm going to break. It's going to break something.
Are you spraying it?
It's spraying.
All right. Are you leaving the line on the bottle?
My plan is I'm going to make 2 easy passes. two runs just to get the car down the track, and then we're going to start
hammering it.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you want, I'll go out there and nitrous the crap out of that thing. I love nitrous oxide. It's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It's like getting in the ring and you just somehow put on a Mike Tyson fucking suit in his heyday, and you're just about ready to right cross somebody in a 30-second knockout.
You good with the stick?
I can actually throw pretty good.
Okay. Let's see how this rolls. All right, guys. That's it. We're out of here. Good night, and thank you.
See you next week.
And end stream. Boom.
Yeah, I don't